Today is 26 January 2023, and we are continuing with looking at the elections in Zimbabwe, the 2023 elections that will be held just after July and beginning of August. And today we want to look at the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission Chairperson, Priscilla Makanyara Chigumba. She is a justice, or someone who is very experienced in working within the system of the legal system of Zimbabwe. And I want to look at whether she is appropriate to be the chairperson for the 2023 elections, whether she can deliver a free and fair election, her qualifications, the way she has previously handled the elections, and also compare her briefly with other chairpersons, particularly of Zambia, Chulu, who was fired recently by President Hakainde Hichilema when he got into office, and also Wafula Chebukati of Kenya, who also, I think he's ended his term after the new president came in. So if you look at Justice Priscilla Chigumba, she has raised a lot of emotions, especially in the last elections. She was appointed in February 2018 by the current President Edi Mnangagwa. And after her appointment, she obviously handled the 2018 elections. And there were various controversies in the way that she handled the election, her impartiality towards the MDC alliance, particularly if you look at the way she handled the acceptance of a similar name between the MDC alliance of Nelson Chamisa and the MDC T of Thokozani Kupe. The symbols that were used there was controversy with that. The ballot paper, how the name Chamisa C and then Mnangagwa M, they were supposed to then, Chamisa was supposed to be at the top and then Mnangagwa second. But then somehow when the ballot was printed, Mnangagwa was at the top and Chamisa was second. So those were the various controversies that arose regarding ZEC, and there is a lot of others that arose during that period. There were a lot of demonstrations, including Chamisa and BT having to go to the ZEC offices. So obviously the question will arise, is she appropriate to handle the 2023 election? Is she not going to become part of the problem? So today I want to look at her and her history, and then probably later on, when I get an opportunity tomorrow, I'll look at the other commissioners. But let's look at who is Priscilla Chigumba. Priscilla Chigumba, Justice, is someone that started off at a law firm after she graduated from King's College in London. I don't know whether she started off in legal practice and then went there, or I'm not sure, because there's a lot of gaps in her CV. If you look at the ZEC website, what I noticed that there's a lot of gaps which I could not explain in her CV. So let's start with what she did. She was a PA at Gallup and Blank. It's one of the law firms which was there in Harare between 1994 and 2000. Then in 2000, she was briefly at PG Timbers, one of the big companies in Zimbabwe, where she was an assistant company secretary. So she came from being a PA to being a company secretary briefly for a few months. And then she left to form her own company, which is Priscilla Chigumba and Associates. She was there for 2 years, between 2000 and 2002. Then in 2004, so this is one of the first gaps. Between 2000 and 2004, on the CV that she has at ZEC, it's not clear what she was doing. But between 2004 and 2007, she was then appointed to be a resident magistrate at the Harare Magistrate Court. And so you see that she moved in 2004, she moved into the official government system of governance. She was now on the other side. And then from 2011 to 2011 to 2012, she was now a researcher at the Chief Justice Office. So it's not clear to me what she was doing between 2008 and 2010. I don't know if this is the period when she went to study, but there is a gap there in a CV, so that's another gap. And then obviously in 2012, she was appointed to be a justice, a high court judge. That's when she became a justice, high court judge. And then obviously in 2018, she was appointed to this position in February by President Mnangagwa to be the chairperson of ZEC. So from an education point of view, I did compare her with the other people that we're talking about here, the other chairpersons, especially those of Zambia and those of Kenya. And what I noticed is that the other guys, they are more of the lawyers. They're more of lawyers who are also practicing. So there's a similarity there. Chebukati was actually at one point a politician. He contested in 2007 in an election. In Zambia, if you look at Chulu, he was closely related to the previous government, and his replacement, she is a constitutional lawyer. She's the only person who has never worked within the system, who was appointed by President Hakainde Hichilema. So the preference for the previous presidents like Jomo Kenyatta and also, I'm not sure if it's Jomo Kenyatta, but it's Kenyatta, and Lungu, was to appoint people from the system. Whereas President Hakainde Hichilema has appointed someone who is a constitutional lawyer. Obviously, you need to know the law to be in this position. But the difference is that Chigumba comes from within the system. She is from within the system of Zimbabwe legal system, even working at one point within these departments, the departments of the Chief Justice. So she's well connected to the ruling system in Zimbabwe. Similarly, I expect that when the new people who come in, they are going to dismiss her just the same way that is the people in Zambia have done. So it becomes a political position. It's no longer just a job. So the job of a commissioner, of the chairperson of the commission, Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, is a political appointment, because I don't think they will just allow anybody, given the current realities in Zimbabwe, they will not allow anyone to just be in that position. So this is something that we need to understand and accept, that the position of a chairperson of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, and in fact, if you look at the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission of Kenya and the Independent Electoral Commission of Zambia, previously, these were all political appointments, and it is to be expected that this position comes with a lot of pressure from within the system, and you have to be someone with a certain kind of thick skin to sit in that position and manage the expectations of the people who appointed you and the public and the opposition parties. So in my view, Chigumba is not any different from any of the other commissioners that we've looked at, or the chairpersons of the electoral commissions we've looked at from other countries. The only difference is in Zimbabwe, she has handled a very controversial election in the past. And is it appropriate then to have the same person handling the next election? That is the question that really will arise. But there is nothing peculiar about her as a person. The only difference is, given the historical context of what happened in 2018, is it appropriate for her to be handling the election? Also, I know that in countries like Kenya and probably Zambia, their contracts are 6 years. So that is to allow them to obviously handle the first election and then wrap up. So in the case of Priscilla Chigumba, I do not know how long her contract is and when it's supposed to be expiring. So that is a very important item to think about, because now we're coming to 2023, which means if it's a 5-year contract, we're getting to February. Something could happen. If it would be possible to appoint a new chairperson in the year if a contract was expiring this year. So that is, if you say 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. So that means she probably has another year to go before she can hand over, and probably should be in her right to handle this election. If the election was to happen in August, that means she's got a few more months. The people who are going to come in, they will deal with her, depending on whether she performs the way they like or not. But as I said, very interesting personality. I think she's very strong in terms of the way she responds to the issues. I do not know about whether she is likable to the opposition, and I do not know if that is the position where you can be likable. The position of the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. But she will be a very, very important factor in this coming election, because I want to consider a situation where the current president loses. Will she be able to then say he has lost and declare those results? Similarly, you saw what happened in Zambia. At one point, when it became clear that Hakainde Hichilema was winning, they stopped publishing results. They literally didn't attend one of the next updates, press conferences that was supposed to happen. I'm sure until the assurances from the military that they could continue. But it was clear that pressure was being put on them as they continued to announce those results. So the position of the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, critical. But I think from a qualification perspective, Justice Priscilla Chigumba, I think she's fine. I'm just worried about the issues, the controversies that have happened in the past and how they will affect this current election. Thank you very much for watching. Tomorrow we'll look again, or we'll look at the other commissioners, and then maybe as time goes on, we'll look at the other divisions or departments of ZEC, the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. This is the most important election that Zimbabwe has ever had, and we're going to be covering it every day.